Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Kitchen Konversations. We are back. Jared Paul, Jason Aspis, with a distinguished guest, Dayne Gingrich, a two-time national champion in 2021, coming off huge wins. Men's senior doubles and mixed doubles championship just 2 weekends ago, right? Not this past weekend, the weekend before. Pretty awesome. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I appreciate it, man. I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Jared and I have been talking about doing this for freaking ever. And first off, before we get into my shenanigans, huge congrats to you guys, man. Jared, I remember the first time we talked, right? Like Kitchen wasn't even a reality. It was kind of a thought process. And you reached out with this idea and you said, bro, like get on the phone. We'll just talk for like 15 minutes, 20 max. We were on the phone for literally over an hour and a half. I was all in.
I think it was like 2 hours.
Dude, it was crazy. And I was all in on the kitchen concept from the first 7 seconds. Dude, huge kudos to all you guys over there. You, Dayne, everybody, even though Dayne spells his name wrong. Now you got this, and Jason's crushing it. Like, you guys are absolutely crushing the game. I love where you're going. You've done it differently. You just have this big picture vision that's just still in the beginning, man. So huge congrats, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I you were definitely, I think, probably the first real conversation with a player that I had. And I was a huge, I was new to the game, but I saw what you were doing. And I have a ton of appreciation for you saying yes and just hearing me out and listening to the vision and being just a great mentor and friend. And I'm stoked that we are here in this moment. Long time coming.
Man. This is good, dude. I like what you guys are doing with the KK, Kitchen Konversations. Everything you do is just next level. I love it. I love it.
Appreciate that, man.
How your holidays going, man? Everything's rolling. We're fighting this COVID thing again. Like just this nonsense. Like you're sick as a dog. Your partner Dayne's sick as a dog.
I'm coming off of 11 days of feeling pretty terrible. So as congested as I am and as nasally as I sound right now, it was way worse the past week and a half. My daughter was sick. My wife was sick. Dayne, our co-founder, has exactly all the same symptoms. No COVID, tested 4 times. But I'm in Santa Cruz, California. Weather's good. Got back to playing some pickle. So I, can't complain.
Love it. My wife's family's all in Santa Cruz, man. We were just there for Thanksgiving. Usually go for Christmas, and we're gonna stay here in Santa Barbara this year, but love it in Santa Cruz. Jason, where are you? I didn't even. Where are you?
I'm in Atlanta, but I will say that I showed my kids. I have 3 kids, 3 boys, 14, 12, 10. And so I got the 10-year-old to agree to watch a scary movie the other night. So we watched Us, which is in Santa Cruz. Scare the absolute living shit out of them. So it's scarred them for life.
Which movie?
Us. It's the Jordan Peele movie.
What was the vampire movie in Santa Cruz? It was the famous one from the 80s.
Oh, the Tom Cruise stuff?
No, the most famous one, the most famous vampire movie. I'm going to look it up.
Once Bitten?
No, stop.
No, dude. There's some scary ones. There's one under the boardwalk in Santa Cruz. Like there's scary little stuff.
I think that's the one.
That was kind of scary. That was scary.
Find it.
I don't know. Anyway, Dayne, where are you? You're based in California, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Santa Barbara, California, a couple hours north of LA. Perfect. When it gets to be like 65 degrees, people are like putting on their snow jackets. It's pretty spoiled here. Yeah.
Are you originally from that area?
Since 3rd grade. So pretty much my whole life, and I've moved out a couple times to chase some things, but I've always ended up back here. And thank goodness, because I can play pickleball, I can train, I can ball machine, I can do anything I want like every day, except maybe like 4 days. Like it's gonna rain tomorrow for 2 days, and then it'll be beautiful, and we get pissed off. 2 days, I'll be in the house for 2 days.
Yeah, Santa Barbara is a good place to be.
Yeah,
there are worse places to spend your winters.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about your background. You're a tennis player to begin with, is that right?
Yeah. So I grew up right from the get-go playing basketball and tennis. I did that forever. My dad and I talked about this mental game thing as long as I can remember. And I was lucky to be born with some athletic genes. So I was good in basketball and tennis right away and just kind of evolved, that's kind of all I've done, right? And like I was a terrible student. I was naturally gifted in some things, but I love my English. I love English and writing and stuff. But outside of that, I hated school. I did terrible in school. Because of that, lost scholarships for tennis and basketball, and went the long way with junior college, and just kind of was just undisciplined that way. And then fought some fear issues and some internal stuff, and which kind of was good that I kind of battled through that, because now in 2005 or 6 when I started doing this mental game thing, I was able to kind of like reach back and kind of learn from what I was going through as a kid. And it's funny. I played a ton of poker, right? Professional poker, paid the bills with that for a bunch of years. And that ironically has helped so much in this pickleball world, right? And understanding the opponent's tendencies and a post I wrote today about everybody's watching you. They're always watching you. I learned that on the poker table. Everybody is watching you and listening. Even when they have their headphones on, they still sometimes don't have music. Like, you're always being watched, right? And I've taken
You played limit hold'em, is that right?
Well, I started with limit because limit was super popular. No limit wasn't huge there. So I cut my teeth on limit and played some big stakes there, and played no limit tournaments, but played pretty big stakes with limit. You're winning thousands and losing thousands at the same time. So,
do you ever talk to Adam Stone about poker? Sorry,
I did a little. I've asked him questions, but he's so over it. Like, he must have had some trauma, right? Because poker can break you, right? And he doesn't ever play again. And I still love when I'm traveling to stop in a poker room and play for fun. Yeah. But so I've just been an athlete my whole life, and been a teacher my whole life, right? And been a coach from day one. We talk about all the time. And it's just now in the last few months that I've been able to like articulate. Some people are born like purebred entrepreneurs, right? Where they are just an entrepreneur from day one. Some people are born, they can play the piano 5 years old. They don't know how, they don't know why. And I've just understood, like, I'm a purebred teacher. Like, I'm a coach. I don't care you give me info, I can coach you, right? And in the pickleball world, it's really helped now kind of bring that to the base of this community, because what's been so exciting in the pickleball community is how engaging everybody is. Everybody wants to learn. They're so hungry to learn. That, I think, is the number one thing that's completely blown my mind with this pickleball thing.
Yeah, it's true. So are you formally trained to coach, and like, are you a psychologist, or
no.
No,
and I'm asked that all the time. And I chose not to go that route and get that psychology degree. Number one, because I hate school. I hated school, and I wouldn't do well in that. Number two, I didn't want to lose my athletic voice, because when I started doing this, I was teaching tennis full time and playing golf and working with those players. And when I went and saw a sports psychologist for my own game, he gave me the right words, right? I know he knew the words, but I could feel he didn't know what I was going through. And that bothered me, right? So I made a choice, which, was a difficult choice business-wise, because it took me a lot longer to get my foot indoors, to not go that school route. And because, listen, what does school do? It gives you info. Like, I fought this, like, why didn't I go? How do I explain it? You can find info anywhere now, right? My sister's built an entire business of web development and brand based on YouTube videos alone, not 1 minute in school, right? So information is what you need and what you get from school. And from that, then the art of being a coach is what I lean my hat on, what I lean into the most, right? Yeah. And it's a gift, and I'm not afraid to say it anymore in fear of sounding arrogant. But coaching is my gift. You can find info anywhere. So the battle was, if I wasn't going to go to school and get a quote degree, because I never wanted to be called a psychologist anyways, then I was going to have to work my ass off and learn this on my own and get some mentors along the way and really study and probably put myself 5 years behind the 8 ball, right? Versus going to the school. So to answer your question, no, I'm not a psychologist. I don't like to be called one. but I can sure as hell coach you up in that area for sure.
Have you studied psychology? I mean, have you absorbed, psychology
In general, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not making stuff up, right? But yeah, like I've studied. I mean, and I still do every day, right? Every day I'm watching something, reading something, watching videos, doing something to up train what I know. Always trying to evolve. So yes, of course, just digesting as much info as I can, but also spitting out what I don't agree on, what I don't agree with, what I don't like, right?
Dayne Gingrich joined.
Dayne. All right, Dayne's gonna be back in a minute.
Here he is.
What happened? Just got kicked out. I'm gonna blame you.
He hit the kill switch.
Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, I've digested the I guess I can cuss, right? I've digested the shit out of information. I just didn't do it in a classroom. To have a professor tell me, right, what he believes. I wanted to read and study and have mentors and then take on what I believe based on my personality and the students that I wanted to teach.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, so I want to go back to the poker analogy, because I think that we've talked about this on Kitchen Konversations prior, that there is a lot of similarities between pickleball and poker. There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of kind of, bluffs and tells and, watching your opponent. How much, when you talked about you're always being watched, right? Are you ever putting out there fake tells so people think you're either frustrated or not frustrated, or are you observing the whole time? How does that work?
Both. Okay. So I don't want to. Yes, I put out fake tells all the time. I don't.
He's not going to tell you right now what he does.
There's no chance I'm telling you what they are. But I put out false information on the court all the time.
Maybe this is the false information.
This could be the false.
Maybe he doesn't.
I'm reversing it.
Yeah,
you think that I am, and I'm not.
Now they want to study some psychology here.
I can go 5 levels on you. So of course the answer is it depends. It depends on how astute I think my opponents are. If they will even notice anything that I do. The higher you go in the tournaments, the better players you play. They're noticing a lot. So I'm trying to give them information to make them believe certain things about how I'm thinking or feeling or what my strategy is or where my shot selections. They think my shot selections are here. They think I have only these options when I know I have more, or yes, to answer your question, false information all the time, but I'm observing 24/7. I'm observing when we're in between matches and I'm drinking water, right? Like because people just don't understand the information. They're giving away free information all the time. Like they're giving away free confidence all the time. I can't believe how sunny it is. I can't believe he lobbed. I hate when they do this. I can't believe I came off the court and she did this and I hate that. I mean, there's information to be had. And I mean, if you've noticed, how often have you seen Ben give a video on his ins and outs, and he and Collins, what they don't at all for a reason, right? They'll talk about, you don't know anything, like you think you know, but you don't really know because he's not going to tell you. Why would he tell you?
I had asked Dayne if he would break down some of his own tape, and he said, no way. I'm not doing that publicly. I'm not. No. But that's where Jason said, well, that's where you could, give some false information and some reverse tells and
reverse this,
40 chess on it.
And this is what I believe to be just infinitely fascinating to me. It's not like there's only in pickleball, there's only a certain amount of shots you need to hit, right? There's just only a certain amount. But the psychological piece is infinite, right? The levels that you can go from first, I know what you know, to I know that you think that I know, and I know what you know that like you can just keep going and going and going. And if you can create an edge in that area, you have to be able to execute your shots. But at the highest levels, whether it's senior, open pro, or 4-0, at the highest levels, people can execute the shots they need to execute. So then it comes down to something else, right? It comes down to the mental and emotional intangibles that like literally less than 1% of players are ever even working on.
I was watching you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was watching you and Colin talk yesterday, and I heard you guys talking about the math, right? And it all comes down to when you have the advantage, you are obligated to take that advantage, right? That is the right play. And it's funny because Jared and I had talked about it of sticking to the plan and sticking to the dinks and being patient? Or the second you have an opportunity, is it jumping on that first opportunity because you might have a little advantage there in when you take that, when that math works out and when it doesn't? And I'm interested to hear your thought on that, because I think what I was hearing last night was that even if it's 51-49 or 45-55, you take that advantage when it is, presented.
People have a hard time. People have a difficult time so the advantage doesn't have to just be an attack advantage. Colin and I were talking specifically about attacking because Deckel was attacking Tyson in that match and he was having success with it. So we were talking about attacking. But if you have a dink advantage too, right, then it's your obligation to also put them in the mud. And if you're playing against because listen, like the foundation is it's kind of doesn't matter what you want. The number one priority should be about what they don't want, right? So if they don't want to be attacked, you need to be able to attack them relentlessly. If they don't want to dink, you need to be able to dink them relentlessly, right? Wherever your advantage is, you must mathematically, relentlessly go at them. And in this game, there's no way, if your levels are close to even, right? You're just not going to win 80% to 100% of those rallies / attacks. You just can't. All you need is 55%.
How many? So like, are we talking tournament play? You mentioned whether it's pro or 4-0. Like, are there friends? And because there's no friends in poker, right? Like, you're friendly in poker. Are there friends in pickleball? Like, when I'm playing with my buddies at the court, or if I'm playing with some strangers and I could tell that they don't want to be sped up on constantly, and like, do you just you just go at them?
I mean, that's different. It depends, right? Like,
we're 98% rec players in this game right now, right?
Right. I mean, are we? I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on what can you be a rec player and still want to get better? I mean, I don't know that there's a black and white answer. I think everything, it's just so gray. It just depends. Like, you're talking to me who, like, when I'm playing with my friends, everything feels like a tournament. I don't laugh and play well. I talk shit. But I like hitting and giggling. I talk some shit, but hitting and giggling, it's not why I play. I play to compete, right? I compete. I can compete against friends, but I'm going to talk shit and I'm going to go after bar.
Here's a scenario. There's you and your partner, and then there's a lesser player and a more skillful player on the other side.
In rec?
Are you like... my doubles partner, a lot of times when we're playing against a better player, he'll say, let's play to the better player the whole game.
Right.
Not the whole game, but most of the game. Because what's the point? If you can hit winners off the weaker player, is that improving your game? What's your take there?
I like that. I think in rec, so I approach rec, and I challenge people to approach rec in two different ways. Unless they're just absolutely not a tournament player. If you are going to play tournaments, I approach rec and I play rec to experiment. Right. And to practice shots. And then the next game I'll play as if it's a tournament gold medal match where we'll just exploit whoever's weakest. But if you're not doing the tournament prep, then I think it's really important to hit to the stronger player, not only to give you better shots, but to also show respect to the better player that's on the court, right? The better player knows that he's playing or she's playing with a weaker player, and he or she knows that if they want to win the game, all they have to do is keep it to the weaker player. So hitting to the stronger player the majority of the time in that scenario, it just shows respect for that player. And I think it's one of those etiquette things that too often gets overlooked, especially if you ask the stronger player. If you're one of the weaker players, for example, like I've seen this a lot, right? Two weaker players will ask a stronger player.
Talking to you, Jared.
And then never hit to the stronger player. Like the stronger player said, okay, I'll play. And then
he's not coming back. She's not coming back.
That's insane. That's right.
How did you get into pickleball? We haven't discussed that, right?
That's funny. So my stepdad brought me out to a 4-5 game, and I watched it on YouTube for like
what year? How old were you?
Gosh, it was like 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So I played my first time 3.5 years ago. I played for like 4.5 hours. I played without a break, just against really good 4-5 players. Loved it. Fell in love with it. Couldn't walk. And I say this, they think I'm lying. I could not walk down a set a step for 2 weeks. My thighs were just done. But then I didn't play again for like a year. For whatever reason, I was playing tennis still and teaching and doing it. So, and then just got back into it, I don't know, 2.5 years ago. 2018 was my first tournament, the end of it. And just from that time on, just that was it. Because of the competitive thing, right? Like I'm older and I can still compete hard and still find a really good level to compete. And then the mental and emotional poker thing that I just is more fascinating to me than the actual physical shot selection. That fascinates me more than anything because there isn't a ceiling with that strategy. There isn't a ceiling with the mental and emotional edge that you can create.
So let's say there's a 3-5 player who does not prepare mentally, physically, wakes up, goes to the court, doesn't drills for. It was the guy that drills for 2 minutes. I'm not talking about myself, okay? I'm like approaching a 4-0. Drills for 2 minutes and says, I'm ready. And then they were to the next day to wake up and take your approach to preparation, to thinking, to like witness, like observing. How much does that raise their level?
I mean, the better preparation that you have, right, the better player you're going to be. I don't think that player will ever just night and day do that. I think it's a super slow process to help them see a picture that's a little evolved, right? Like to go a little out of their comfort, like maybe instead of just walking on the court and warming up for 10 seconds and starting, maybe get there. How about 15 minutes early with somebody and warm up your dinks and resets and thirds and then go play. It starts slow, but what happens just naturally is that they see improvement. And anytime people see improvement, they're going to want to do more of what helped them improve, right? And then you're hoping to compound interest that thing. Well, let's try this now. Let's do that. How about watching 5 minutes of your favorite player on YouTube and just pick out a part of their game that you want to emulate or be better at? And then that turns into 20 minutes and then, on and on and on. But it's a slow process. And again, like you said, it just depends on people's goals. People don't necessarily play to get better. They play sometimes, to just have fun with their friends and just it's a social thing. Yeah. But, I always say and I always think, like, I don't know how fun it is to get your ass kicked over and over and over, right, if that's happening. And I don't know how fun it is to win if you're playing against players that are really, at a lower level than you. So there's going to be somewhere in your little rec career where you're going to hit a wall of, man, I can't beat those players that are barely better than me anymore. I might have to practice something.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about you mentioned that you grew up playing tennis and basketball. Were you as strategic and as competitive playing both tennis and basketball as you are with pickleball? Or is pickleball just a weird game that brings it out in you?
No, that's DNA. That's my DNA. Like I'm as I grew older, I became more strategic. And again, I think the poker thing really took the strategy and the intangible stuff to another level. But I've always been stupid competitive, like just break things if I lose a freaking checkers game, like always. And in tennis, I was a serve and volleyer and a chip and charger, so it was all about super aggressive. I've always been hyper aggressive. Basketball, I was a point guard. So again, a little of that coaching thing and super aggressive. But as you get older and you I'm not as quick as I used to be, so I got to be smarter, right? If I'm going to go play against 20-year-olds here and there, I can't overpower them, but I can. I mean, the court is so small. That's the beautiful thing. I don't give a shit what your age is. I don't care that you're not as fast as Zane. In doubles, the court is so damn small. If you spend a little time stretching and strengthening and freaking meditating or doing whatever, like to strengthen your body, like you don't have to be 20 to be a great player, right? You have to be smart, you have to be strong, and you have to be more disciplined, right? You have to have maybe some more weapons, but you don't have to be freaking 20 years old to be a great player.
Dan, how old are you? You're what, 52?
I am 31. No,
31.
I am. I always say 50, like forever I'll 50, but I guess I'm 51.
51. Okay. So I'm catching up. I'm right behind you. I'm 49.
Okay.
How are you getting better?
Yes. I'm better 100%.
Have you watched the guy who just won he just won nationals, this guy?
I know, but at some point there's a breaking point where as we get older, at some point the skills go down, the strategy might go better, but we're going to lose something. We're not getting quicker. We're not getting faster. We're not getting stronger, right? We might get smarter,
right?
Maybe.
I haven't hit that spot yet where I'm declining. I'm definitely on an upward trend. Definitely mentally and emotionally. I'm emotionally stronger. I'm not such an asshole, right? I'm not as like eye rolly to my partners when I first started. Like we talked about this earlier, like Lauren and I, like but that was a tennis thing, right? So I've learned that in those close quarters in pickleball, you just can't be that way, right? So emotionally, I'm better. Mentally, I'm definitely stronger. Physically, I've never been, although I got braces all over, but I fucking work my ass off to stay, I'm not in the shape of a 20-year-old, but like my physio guy, like our goal is to freaking turn 40. I want to turn 40 physically, and this takes a lot of work.
So speaking of age, I would say one of my favorite matches that I watched during nationals, which you and I talked about offline, was you and Dave versus Tyson and Ryan. I know it might be tough to talk about. We don't have to dig into it. My question is,
we can dig into it. It's fine. It was fine.
If you're their age,
yeah.
Because we're talking.
You want me to say it out loud? I mean, if you ask me to be honest, yes. I know what your question is. 100%. Top 5. I'll say it out loud. I'm not afraid of it. You can laugh.
Top 5.
I mean, 100%.
Top 2.
100%. If I'm 20, 100%. 100%. But again, if I'm their age, I'm not as mentally and emotionally strong.
There you go.
When I was 20, I was physically pretty gifted. Very fast. I could jump my ass off. I was very athletic.
Can you dunk?
I could dunk in warm up.
Jason, can you dunk? Jason, you're what, 6'4"?
You can dunk a volleyball. I couldn't dunk a basketball.
I'm 6'2", but I could dunk. I almost got back to dunking a couple of years ago.
I can touch it.
I can't dunk, guys. In case you're going to ask me next.
But again, like if you go back, that's the whole thing, right? Like I just think as we get older, you get stronger. And hopefully at 20, I was a cocky, arrogant, dumb shit. Like wasn't studying the game. I was just playing physically, right? Had physical gifts. And that's the whole thing is why I had to go the whole JUCO route because I was a moron, right? And so,
yeah. So for those who missed the intro to this, I've known Dayne Gingrich pretty much since the beginning of my pickleball journey, which was, I didn't even know what pickleball was just over a year and a half ago. And so Dayne and I talked a bunch. We probably talked on the phone a dozen times. We would chat all the time. I was like, this guy's my homie,
Yeah.
And then I was out at US Open, my first big tournament. And I was like, dude, you're a big reason I went. I'm like, I'm so excited to get to hang out with Dayne, right? And I hit him up. I'm like, hey, man, I'm like flying in. I think I was on the plane and no response. And so then I get there. I get to my house and I'm like, hey, Dayne, like I'm in town, man. Let's like get a drink. And he's like, dude, I'm like in tournament mode. Like I'm probably not going to see you and I probably won't respond to you. Like, Jesus Christ.
I didn't say not respond to you.
Hold on. So the story, it gets worse or better depending on how you look at it. So then it's my last day, and you're playing on the far court. You're playing like I can't remember.
I was playing mixed.
You were playing mixed, and I'm like, and I say to Dayne, my co-founder, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to see this guy. and I go and I roll over there, and you just won your first game, and I go up and I'm like, hey Dayne, and you look at me like I was some like rat, like what the who the. And I'm like, it's Jared. And you were like, oh, hey, man. And you're like, I got to go play my second game. I'm like, all right, good seeing you. So then I hit you up after, and I was like, dude, I feel like you need to recognize you. And you go, I wouldn't have recognized my own father right then.
Yeah.
And I just, in the moment I was a little insulted. Love you now again. But in all seriousness, what it made me realize is what a gamer you are, right? And like how in the zone you are. And then I went and played the Atlanta Open, and I'm like, out partying the night before and, networking before my matches. And then I had to play Philip Phillips, the American Idol, and I was like all starstruck and just such a stark contrast between you and me. It's like,
yeah.
I could really use more of that. So.
I also could also use a little of you, right? Because. But like I remember that moment. I literally did not know who you were. I did not recognize.
I think even after I said I'm Jared from the kitchen, you're like, dude, like leave me alone.
There
Security.
And I know you were with Dayne, and I didn't even reckon. Well, because I'd also never seen you in person either, right? And so that's part of it. But I mean, dude, you walked in after the first game at the U.S. Open. Like that's bad on you. That's a you problem on that one. Like I don't know how many.
I don't disagree.
Up and talk to you.
So my apologies, and I'm happy we're past that moment.
I'll send you chocolates.
Thank you.
Hey, Dayne, I got a question from Heather Mayfield asking about where do you recommend someone starts with the mental, psychological part of the pickleball game?
So again, as every answer will probably be, and you'll be tired of hearing it, the answer is it depends, right? Not knowing where her challenges are. Is she like, is it a fear based? I would suggest learning to be more intentional with the game plan, right? And that's based off of knowing nothing about her, right? I think in when you're intentional about what you want to try to achieve, it takes away a lot of the fear-based stuff we have on the court, right? And our fear comes because we're focused on not missing. We're focused on, I hope I don't embarrass I hope I don't let my partner down. I hope, rather than, I mean, how many times do we hear, man, I hope I don't miss versus I want to hit this dink here for this reason. So expanding the intention that she plays with, that you play with, Heather, right? That
Yep.
Heather that you play with is gonna instantly kind of lock you into, the now. We hear all the time, right? Stay in the now. But and that's right. But how the hell do we do that? Right? That's a huge. So learning right away to just have an intention, even if the decision you make is wrong or it doesn't work out or it's a low percentage, or maybe later you learn that you shouldn't have, like, just being intentional will keep you in the moment, which if you're in that moment, it's hard to be out in that fear stuff.
Another question from a user, and then we'll get back to our agenda here. Victoria Vaughn, can non-athletes learn? Do you think non-athletes can thrive and enjoy pickleball?
Of course. I mean, look at Jared.
That's, say no more. Say no more.
Over.
Victoria, I knew I shouldn't ask your question.
Yes. And you know what? That's the greatest part. And something I think we all like, more athletic players that come in from other sports, especially like a tennis sport, tennis, is we look at a quote unquote non-athletic looking player and we think, because if that happened on the tennis court, match is over before it started, right? But in pickleball, I mean, look, everybody has, I mean, the court is so small, right? And most players play doubles, right? You don't have to be fast to play good doubles, right? And so hell yes, there's so many different techniques. There's so many different ways of getting the ball from A to B, and you, I imagine, aren't playing Lucy and Catherine and Lauren and Jesse, etc., right? So you're playing at your own specific level. Heck yes, be excited, and but I would say this, right? Regardless of how athletic you are or you're not, you have something that you uniquely do really well that's unique to you. And instead of looking around at other people's strengths and weaknesses or listening to other people's advice, I would suggest going kind of looking in that mirror, so to speak, and really figuring out the one or maybe two things that you just naturally do really well. Even if it goes against popular strategic advice, like banging, for example, or driving every third and fifth. If you do that really well for now, I would start there, and we can grow and, figure out other things to do that'll round out your game later.
And who are some of your influences? Do these names, do they speak to you? Gary V.
Outside of Gary V has really hit home. Eric Thomas was my first business, my ET, the hip hop preacher before he blew up. I had a business entrepreneur way back when I was teaching tennis. He helped me get into Tennis Magazine and publish some articles, and he kind of took me under his wing. Then my big business / life mentor type was Eric Thomas before he blew up with Want It As Bad As You Can Breathe video that now he's just, worldwide. He took me and he really helped me on a personal level. I reached out to him for some business strategy and how to be a better speaker, etc. And he took me under his wing as a pastor and helped me with my marriage, helped me with my own identity, and he and I have become friends, and he's been an amazing influence on the non-pickleball side. And then Gary V, on a kind of like, I lock in when I saw his content, I'm just like, that's me. I like fuck it. And he helps me, like, when I watch this, he helps me like screw the people that screw the haters, right? Like, do you, like, anytime I'm starting to doubt like my opinions or the path that I'm walking because most people will fight back, I just kind of go to that advice. Love Gary.
Hey, can you do you do any online coaching in terms of psychology and strategy?
I mean, I do it in my personal business, yes, but I don't have like an online course, right? And maybe I should. A lot of people say that I should, and Jared and I have talked about it quite a bit. A bunch of people have talked about it quite a bit, and I just haven't given the macro need to freaking like shut things down for weeks or months at a time to make it happen. But when COVID hit, the pandemic hit, my whole model changed to Facebook style live coaching, on-court coaching with Facebook. I mean, with FaceTime, sorry, with FaceTime on my phone. I could be in different states live with you from my freaking porch, right? And
someone just asked that. Someone just said, where can they get lessons or train with Dayne?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
I've talked to people that Dayne has trained virtually, numerous people who said that it's an incredible experience. We've been trying to eventually do a session, and it just hasn't synced up. But so yes, Dayne offers that, and I've also heard, obviously, in person that there just isn't someone who does it better. So,
well, that's kind. I don't know. I think Morgan or Simone might disagree. But the online thing, I mean, I love that, right? Like the whole pandemic thing made me change my entire thing, and now I can be in California and work with somebody in Missouri. Like I have students all over the country, and they just via Zoom or via phone. But if they want to get on the court, right, and that's cool too, because playing lessons, if you were to come live and have me have a 2-on-2 and have me coach, you and your partner with two other players that weren't in the lesson, it would be hard to do, right? If you weren't in a 4-person lesson, it would be hard to do because you would disrupt the whole thing, right? But if you have your Bluetooth earbud, you have your earbud and you have your phone, your opponents can't hear anything, and I can be in your ear kind of talking you through the entire match, right? And that was a complete game changer. That I almost like that better than in person sometimes.
Such an unfair advantage.
And
how do they reach you?
I mean, I'm all over social, right? I mean, you can reach me at,
what's your website? People are asking what your website is.
CoachDayne.com.
That's right.
CoachDayne.com. Do you do clinics?
I do clinics, do privates, do speaking.
We got to do that. We got to do that trip abroad that we were talking about.
Man. I know. It's been a freaking phenomenal idea.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
You should have already known what my website is. I mean, where's your prep right there? There's like zero.
I know, but I want to someone posted it.
You're supposed to be, plugging your own things.
Yeah. And also,
sign the contract. We're not going to plug it for you. If you bring it up, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we are anti-promotion in the kitchen. You know this.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you. You're not allowed to, and I'm not here actually to do that.
We're asking for it. We're asking for it.
Yeah.
So speaking of promotion, why Electrum? Tell me just how'd you connect with Electrum?
I met Mohit, the owner, at Nationals after 2019 Nationals. I think just got knocked out. I'm sitting on the court. Ryan Treffry, who was with Electrum at the time, said, "You got to try this paddle." I'm like, "Nah, dude, I'm good with this one. I'm good with this brand. I love this brand. It's the only brand."
What were you playing with?
I'm not gonna. I don't. You want me to promote another brand? I'm gonna promote another brand. A different paddle that's not as good. How about that?
Yeah.
So Mohit, the owner at Nationals, came down, and I had actually hit with that paddle first in a bunch of rec games, and I hit with the pro in a couple of rec games, actually with Lauren Stratman and I brought a couple pros out, Electrum pros. Dude, the first game I played, I was done. Like I was like, still had a contract with the other brand, and I was done. This was a complete game changer as far as the grit and the power and the feel at the same time. And then I met
Pro or the E?
The Pro, because the E had just come out this year, right?
But so you play with the Pro or the E now? The E, right?
I play with the Pro now. I still play with the Pro
now. Bad prep.
I mean, the E's a good paddle. It's just not doesn't fit my style. And dude, just like I met Mohit, the owner, and his vision again. He was young, he was hungry, like Ivy League, and he was all about big picture, and we're going to change the game. And I was sold. Not only the paddle was phenomenal, the paddle has to be good, but I was sold with his vision and his team's vision, and it was just done from that day. And I signed as quickly as I could.
Nice.
Love it. How much do you talk to your partner about strategy leading up to the tournament or match?
Yes.
So a lot. Okay.
And it depends on the partner, right? Like Jen Dawson, who's freaking who won mixed with this year. She's different, right? Like with Jen, and you got to know who you're playing with, right? Like you light her up, and you just say go, right? I don't need to text her pre-match or pre-tournament and make sure, hey Jen, make sure we do this, and because she's good, like she's a veteran, she's like a Hall of Famer, like she's freaking knows way more than I know, right? And because I know she doesn't need it, she doesn't want it, she probably would get overwhelmed. I'd say, Jen, just go. Other players who are a little bit more analytical, right? Like maybe I'll text before, we'll talk about it, and at the tournament before match starts, when we look at the bracket, for sure we'll set up a game plan based on who we think we're playing before we walk on the court, for sure. You have to. You can't walk on and hope. Right? There's got to be a game plan. And the better teams that you're playing, they have a game plan against you. And then there's the poker thing, right? So it's not just we want to do this to them. We also ask ourselves, how do they view us, and what do we think they're going to do to us, right? Nationals gold against Sperling and Kevin Booth is a great example, right? We've played them a bunch of times. I played with Kevin, with John, against John, and they know our styles. We know their styles, and they definitely had a very specific game plan that was different than we had experienced before, and they won game one because of it. And and it was great. And it's so fun because now, oh crap, okay, they're doing this and they had never done that before. Now, how do we counter that? And we came up with a play that would counter that, and it did. But I think that's super. I think, that's more fun to me than the actual hitting of the shot. Is trying to figure out what I think about them, but then what they think about me, and then at the higher level you go, right? What do they think I think about them? I just think that's so fascinating because, again, like there just isn't a ceiling to that. And then
I know that you know that you know that I know.
It just never ends, right? You can't go that far. You don't need to go that far. Like if you're playing Ben, you better go that far. Because even though he doesn't talk about it, Colin too, right? Colin still, in my opinion, is the most underrated player in the game. I think he doesn't get enough credit for Ben and for their wins. Right? The dude is such a good player, but even more than that, he's so smart. He studies his ass off, as does Ben, right? And if you're going to play those guys, or and I know we're talking 3-5s and 4-5 players, but the best players, and if you can just be one layer ahead of them, right? You don't have to be into the I know that you know that I know that you know. But if you can just be one level ahead, as long as you have your shots, you can't lose in long term.
So I need to get beyond I know.
You better be beyond I know. You better get to what you know about them. And then if you can get to what you think that they think about you, then you have a counter.
Then I'll be a 3-0.
Then you have a counter at 3-0. I mean, 4-5, 4-0s, 4-5s. I mean, they go to second level. Yeah. I want to do this, but I also know that they like this. That's 2 levels right there. Right?
Where do you see the game headed? And it's a broad question, but like, I'm not talking about like, do you think there's gonna be more tournaments, or is there gonna be another Hall of Fame? But like the game, where is the game headed? Is it gonna be more dinking, slower? Is it gonna be faster, more speed ups?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really slow and dinking. No, the game. I mean, you see it already, right? And you see it more in the women's game than you do. I mean, you're seeing it in the men's game, but I think in the women's game, you see it. I mean, look at Lee and Anna Lee and everybody, right? Kat, everybody's attacking and banging and crushing. And I say banging, and I don't mean that in any kind of negative term, just hitting it really hard, right? With the two-handed backhand predominantly, with the women, and now a lot of the men are doing it. The game is 100% getting sped up. I mean, you're not going backwards anymore. It doesn't mean we don't dink. I have this argument at literally every day. It's not an either or game, right? It's an and game. You must dink and you must learn to initiate an attack, but you need to initiate an attack earlier than you ever have before. We're dinking. I mean, look, people ask all the time, and I always talk about him, but dude, he set the blueprint. Ben has set the blueprint. Just copy the blueprint, right? I don't mean copy his shots, but like he dinks like crazy, but he's playing the math game. He's dinking to attack. Deckel is dinking to attack. Riley is dinking to attack, right? They're not just dinking and waiting for you to miss anymore, or waiting for you to pop up a green light ball, right? They're dinking to attack, because technology's better, the paddles are better, they're longer, they're more aggressive, the skill level's better. You don't have to sit in a 1,000 ball dink rally. Now, that being said, go to the gold medal with Callan and J-Dub. Like, you have to be able to dink, right? But again, like I say, the pro 25 dink rally is equivalent to the amateur 9 ball dink rally, right? Like, you have to be able to dink, but if you're not able to initiate, you're at a huge disadvantage, because the attacker, the player that initiates first, has the advantage. He has perfect information. I have perfect information, and that goes back to poker. If I'm raising, if I'm initiating action on the poker table, I'm the one who has the information. You're just guessing, right? So at pickleball, if I'm initiating, I know who, where, when, and why. You only have information on my past initiations. You're kind of just guessing. You might guess right, slam it back in my face, but all we need to do is win 55 to 60% of the attacks that we initiate, and we'll win the majority of those matches. You cannot defend yourself out of a good attacker. Long term.
So that was a great answer. It was wrong, unfortunately. The answer was lob. The right answer was the lob. The lob is going to be the thing that that's the future of the game.
Third shot lob.
Right, let me ask you a question. What do you think of baseline lobs? Just say it.
I love them. If they're done.
Fuck you.
if they're done aggressively, like offensively and intentionally. Listen.
No, you're the only one that has said this. Jason loves the baseline lob. We're trying to play all these top pros, and he's baseline lobbing it. I'm like, dude, stop.
Listen, let's bring on Matt Wright, right? Matt, like we played a ton of rec against Matt and Lucy, Dave and I did, before nationals and before La Quinta. And I'm not as fast as I used to be, right? But I'm 6'1", and that dude, his third shot, these dudes are lobbing, but he's practicing it too. Now, you're not going to be 100%. Again, you don't have
like drilling.
Like, he's lobbing during the games.
But is he drilling? Does he go drill?
Well, I don't know if Matt drills.
Jason, do you drill?
I do.
Yeah. The lob. Now, listen, everybody freaks out about the lob. If you don't execute the lob correctly, you're going to get crushed. It's not about whether the lob is good or not. It's not whether the attack below the net is the right or wrong shot. It's, are you doing it at the right time against the right person? And can you
Facebook's lighting me up right now saying lobs are good, lobs are good. I'm talking, I like lob. I love lobbing. I don't like the baseline lob, Facebook. If you have a problem with it,
what's an opponent going to do if you can shoot your baseline lob high enough that lands close to the baseline? You cannot put that ball away from the baseline in a wiffle ball. You can't. Now, if you hit it short and they're stepping just behind the kitchen, you're going to eat it. But it's not whether you should lob or not lob. It's you should lob correctly, and you should be able to execute your lob. High and deep, you're not going to get destroyed yet. There's not 6-10 guys in the game yet. So 100%, Jason.
I saw Callum the other day was lobbing against Ben and having a lot of success with it.
From the no volleys. He's
from the kitchen.
And he's amazing at it. He's the best in the game, I think.
He's amazing. AJ Kohler lobs, although Morgan freaking destroys him when he does lob. I think lobbing from the kitchen, that's a given. Like, you need to be able to have that in your game. I mean, our gold medal match, and they lobbed a ton at nationals. Lobbing from the baseline is more difficult, obviously, because there's more ground to cover, and you got to hit it. You got to hit it better. It's just tougher. I love the third shot lob. I think the third shot lob, if done correctly, if done at the right moment against the right person, is an awesome strategy.
Especially when people get aggressive and they're running in, I find that to be a good move over their head.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot. You talked a lot about Ben and Colin. We talked about Matt. You talked about Callan. Callan's a name to watch in 2022. Any others that you want to throw out there that people should keep an eye on?
I mean, people are going to think I'm a homer for it, but I think Lauren Stratman is going to have a breakout year. I know why.
She's not one to. I mean, she's a known entity.
But she is. But at the same time, she's still disrespectful. And I'm not saying last year she should have been known as a top 4-3 player, right? But I know some things that you all don't know, and she's going to have a breakout season for sure.
Love it.
Yep.
Who else?
I mean, obviously, I think
can't name all Electrum players. And we have Thomas Wilson's going to have a great year. And
I was actually going to say Thomas.
Thomas Wilson, he's legit. He's new, up and comer.
Is J-Dub new anymore? I don't think he's new anymore.
No,
right?
he's not new.
He's just young.
He's freaking pretty talented too.
Thomas, I agree. I think Thomas is the real deal.
I don't know who the breakout, I think AJ. I don't know if he's new anymore. He's semi-new. I saw it when he was playing
Vegas. He won Vegas.
Vegas.
That's no longer new.
When he was playing mixed in Vegas, I saw him in the locker room and I told him, I'm like, dude, you're top 3 mixed player right now. You play like that.
He's Thomas's cousin.
Yeah. It's good. Okay. I don't know, new that people don't know. I don't know if I have any surprise names for you. I just think younger, and I think Andrea Coop's playing great. I think she broke out. I think she's definitely playing. She's great. She's playing freaking great.
We got a question from Pat Smith. He wants to know what's the best and most fun team on tour.
Best and most fun team on tour? He's at
that's
seniors? Is he pros?
Jay and Pat.
Pat and Jay, baby. Pat and Jay last year were the most energetic. They had the skinniest arms and calves on tour. Freaking love Pat, love Jay. Got to know Pat a lot more this year. We drilled a little bit of Vegas. We hung out and talked. Super good dude. Hopefully he's been hurt and he's been injured. He's going to come back, get physically strong, going to be ready. Love those guys.
I almost got to play in that game with you guys, and then Colin Johns took my spot. Do you remember that?
It's probably a better choice, actually. Yeah.
It's not cool. Are you going to be playing more Open Pro in 2022?
I think we're going to say again.
I said, come on.
I mean, look, man. To hit. Yes, we're gonna enter a few more Open Pro, but I mean, dude, I'm a senior pro. Why are we playing, right? We're playing to get on. I want to playing to get on that podium and to win, and for long term for stuff. Definitely love playing the pro, and while I can for the next year or two hang. I'm not saying podium, but to hang and have fun and challenge and again, it's who our partners are too, right? And I'm going to say it right now. I'm looking for a freaking PPA Austin Open Pro men's partner. I don't have a senior mixed partner.
I live in Austin.
Let's go.
You can't play seniors. I can play seniors. All right.
You can't play seniors.
We'll talk.
You can't play seniors.
So I'm not gonna play senior mixed. I'm gonna play men's senior pro, and then I think I'm gonna jump in the Open Pro if I can find a partner.
Tim Klitsch, founder of the Austin Pickle Ranch, lives in Austin, #1 men's senior tennis player in the country right now. Give him a look. He's great. Okay. And he's a good dude.
All right.
And he might draft you at the next MLP. So
yeah. Pickle Ranchers.
I got two more questions. Jason, you got any questions?
No, go ahead.
All right. Who is your favorite player to play with?
Whew, that's a tough one.
I don't want a whole list. I want one.
So on the pro level, I'm gonna say Ben. I actually got to play with him at the U.S. Open. That was fun. I was shocked at how cool he was. I actually wasn't sure if he was gonna throw attitude or if I missed. That dude was so cool, and he let me pick his brain a little bit. Super, super cool. Senior pro.
No eye rolls? No, you didn't see any eye rolls when you missed that?
Not that I saw.
I didn't see any either. I watched it.
The dude took a couple of my backhands, we're right there, then I'm used to snapping off, and he was there with his forehand. I was a little pissed off about that. I got one Ernie, and I'm like, you can't have my Ernie. You can't have my Ernie, Ben. He was lucky to have
well. You played well that. Yeah,
pretty good. Senior tour. Lauren. Lauren's my OG. Lauren Stratman and I. She's my OG. She's been freaking amazing to play with. I've played with Dave more than anybody. I don't think there's one partner that I haven't enjoyed. I'm trying to give you a list.
You and Dave should be illegal on the senior.
No, we shouldn't. We went. No, stop, dude. It's pickleball. That's the thing, right? It's pickleball. Anybody can lose at any time. I take nothing for granted. I take we could be 0-100 next year. It's pickleball, bro. Players are good. The court's small. Everybody's getting better. If you're not training, you're losing, right? Nothing. We're 0 for 0 as far as I'm concerned.
Someone just asked, how does a novice player break out? He just answered, if you're not training, you're losing. So
if you're not training, you're losing. What does break out mean? Break into the pros, just get better, turn 4-0 to 4-5, turn 3-0. You got to train. You got to work. You got to drill. Like,
whoever asked that, I can't see your name. Hit up Dayne and ask him that question.
You got to drill, yo. You got to drill. You have to drill.
And who's your least favorite player to play against?
Nobody.
Well, you haven't played me, so
I have not played you. Because listen, answering that, there are certain shots I don't enjoy playing against, but I'm never going to tell you what those shots are.
This is where you get to say the fake tell. Dayne, you come on, man.
Fake tell.
I know what you know that I know that you know.
Part of me hates playing against Dave, and at the very same time, like for the same reasons I love playing against him, right? I know that he knows that I know that he knows, so I can't get away with a whole lot of shit. He can't get away with a whole lot of shit. But no, I enjoy everybody. I've had a beef with one person on the court recently, and we hashed it out. Part of it was my fault. Part of I crossed the line saying something, but he's super hyper and energetic, and as I am too. And but we squashed it. I mean, it's all just competitive stuff.
Can you see this question on the screen, or am I the only one that can see it?
Yeah.
Why is the only mouth moving majority of the time?
Does it say who it's from?
No, but that's.
But really I know that's a Pat question.
It is.
I'll stop talking. You guys talk. I'll stop talking.
No, I do. I'm Pat. No, that's not. Dayne's way better than us. I'm gonna see if there's any other questions I can highlight. I didn't even know this was a feature. I'm having so much fun right now.
This is a cool. What is it? What platform are we on?
This is really Melon. Cool. Melon, MELON, melonapp.com. It is cool. Here's one. Where do you recommend someone starts with the mental, physical part of the pickleball? What do you think of the book by Brad Gilbert?
Winning Ugly.
Winning Ugly.
I think that's great for scouting opponents. I think that's great for expectations. I think it still holds true. I think it's good for he got to be top 10 in the world, maybe even better with like zero weapons outside of his mental game, right? I think that's great. I think the inner game of tennis is still freaking golden. That changed my career when I was 22 or 23, whatever it was when I read it. Changed my game, changed the way I approached how I taught. I think that's still – I still think there are things that are so outside the box that are still like so goes against the grain. People are still fighting it. Like, I mean, your brain can do things that you just can't fathom. But most of the time because most people think that you shouldn't try certain things or you can't get away with certain things, that you shouldn't even try them. Your brain is faster than anything you physically can do, right? Stand in the middle of the kitchen and slam balls at each other from freaking 3 feet away. At first, you're going to get hit in the face and in the chest and the nuts, and you're going to get hit in the shoulder. But pretty soon your mind adapts, man. And you can just, things like that. Like, I just think we can train differently, better, faster. And I just again find that infinitely fascinating.
And this is what the follow up to I think it's the same guy. I can't see his name. He said, "Turn up my level of play, get better, win tournaments."
There it is.
Yes. How does a novice player get better?
Drill. If you want to be a good tournament player, you have to drill. That's non-negotiable. If you're not drilling and your opponents are drilling, you lose. If you just want to be a fun rec player, it's totally different.
Got it. Any last questions from the kitchen sphere, the kitchen verse?
I have a question for you guys. What do you see the kitchen vision take us, right? Because you are working your asses off, and I know you're not becoming multimillionaires. The hours that you're putting here, what's the vision for our community here? Because you are crushing what you're doing.
We're trying to champion the sport, right? Celebrate this game of pickleball that we all love, and it's an incredible game, and the more people that come on board, and we believe in it, right? We're making our bet that this is going to become an incredibly popular sport.
The largest participatory sport in 5 years. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah. That's a pretty big, bold statement. I don't know if we'll ever get to the biggest, but it's certainly with the strategy, with the ability across generations to be able to participate, the low barrier to entry, the cost to be able to play the low cost. It's got all the elements that we need. It's so fun. It's so addicting. And it's healthy, right? It keeps you thinking, it keeps you active, and it's fun, and it's such a great sport for the social aspect of it. So we're all in. We think this thing's going to go to the moon, and we're here to help champion it and bring all those personalities along the way and the brands, and help them reach the audience.
And to piggyback on that, I would say that really the mission is still the same from that first time we spoke, which is to do it right, to curate content the right way, to offer value to members, whether that's through the curated content, whether that's to bring pros in like yourself to engage, be part of the conversation, offer tons of giveaways, to just do something cool for people, a community that I really love. We are going to get more into the content space. I think that is it's a great opportunity, and there's a lot of great content out there, but I'd love to be able, and it doesn't have to, we want to try to do different stuff than what's being done, a lot of entertainment type stuff. We want to speak to the rec players, and like Jason said, just continue to help grow the sport in any small way that we can, and just see where it all takes us. Like there's no, we both have other gigs. And so, I do spend an insane amount of time on this, but having the other gig allows us to do this without needing to turn it corporate, right? Without needing to worry about money too much, and we can continue doing it the right way from our perspective. So
that's cool. I think I told you this before. I think I texted you too. Like when I'm reading a Facebook post, like I always know without looking the first sentence. Maybe not the first sentence, but definitely the whole question, the post. I know if it's kitchen or something else. 100%.
That was a huge. That was one of my favorite. People say a lot of nice stuff. Like they'll reach out, and when I'm talking to them or I see them on the court, like that was one of my favorite testimonials because that was the goal. There are a lot of great groups out there, Facebook groups about pickleball. We wanted to be different. We wanted to really be about the high value content. So I really appreciated that. That meant a lot.
And keep it positive, right? Like that's right. The big thing. Is that this is a positive sport. This is, we don't need to get into the muck.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a hell of a job. This is really cool, and you're growing like freaking exponentially, just exploding, right?
Yeah,
we're growing quickly. So we'll see what 2022 holds. But it's exciting. It's so fun. Thank God for my buddy who invited me to play.
Yep.
Totally changed my life in so many ways. I know I think Jason feels similarly, and getting to meet people like you, the people I've met in the community have been so awesome. Except for Pat.
Have you deleted him from partner yet? Like he shouldn't.
No. We got to see how he comes out in 2022 as a human, and if he can rip on your calves more. If he can, he'll stay. If not, he's out. But Dayne, thank you so much for your time. Guys, check out CoachDayne.com. Check out his socials. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. This is not me just being a fanboy, but his stuff is the best. It is as good as it gets in the pickleball space, and even beyond that, and just like motivational, and he's the real deal. Check him out. Do not talk to him at a tournament when he's playing. And
in between matches, not in between games.
Okay, so in between matches is fair game. But seriously, man, I'm so appreciative of you and the friendship we formed and everything you do for the game, and for making time a few days before Christmas to do this.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you for having me, and this was fun. Even though I talked the majority of the time, I apologize for that.
You're amazing.
Happy holidays. Have a great new year, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks,
guys. Have a good one.
See ya.